Hey, leadership listeners. Welcome to the Lived Leadership Podcast with Alexander Thorek. And today we have great guest, former Navy pilot, great coach, Sarah Carter. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, hey, Alex, it's good to see you.
So today I'd like to talk about, I don't know if you expected about that, but I'd like to talk about your book,
Ooh,
about your
I'm
about your
excited.
field guide
Yeah.
that you wrote. How long it was ago that you wrote it?
Let's see. The book is approaching 3 years, 3 years
Wow,
ago.
three
Yeah.
years ago.
hmm
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So this is field guide about,
Yeah, about harnessing change. I wanted it to be really an active image. When people say, "Oh, embrace your change," and it just conjures up the wrong image. To me, that conjures up hugging something that is prickly or hugging something you don't really want to hug. It doesn't make me think of anything active. It's just the wrong verb. So when I wrote this book, I wanted to give people a different image. I want people to think of taking charge. When I think of harness, I rode horses for years growing up, and you'd put a harness on the horse. And then at that point, you have, to some extent, control over where that's going. Of course, they still have their own will and can go anywhere. But for the most part, the image is now I have control of this situation. I've harnessed it. So I want that to be the image. I want you to take control of your change. Really be an active participant. Don't just hug something prickly.
I see. Very often people just talk about that, but they don't really grab it.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
I see what you say.
Yes.
And when
Yeah.
it comes to change, people they're just clinging to past assumptions
Mhm,
and they just rely on their old experiences, and this is what holds them back.
mhm.
But this is not what they need to focus on. They need to
Right.
focus on what you just said about the harness the change.
Yes.
But
Yes.
tell us more about that.
Yeah. So the book came about when I had four clients a long time ago, 6-ish years ago now, who all had change they wanted to make that they tried to type into a Google search and nothing came out that they felt really met their needs. They were given tips and tricks that fit career change or just didn't fit them. So I started putting together coaching questions for them um, into a workbook. And at the end of it, one of them told me, "Hey, this could really be a good book." And I was like, "I don't know what my main message would be." And this client of mine said, "It helped me to become a proactive participant in my change. I got past my hesitations. I got past my obstacles. I set up a plan. I began to think and anticipate things that might derail my plan so I could then adjust. They put together their network of people so that they weren't doing it alone, which I think is another big hurdle for people who are trying to make change. So that was the nexus of putting together this book, was to show people how to do it proactively. This person, by example, they were hesitating because they weren't on the golden path. We all kind of see, especially me having been a pilot, there was a very clear, you do this and then you do this and then you do this and then you do this and now you're a pilot, congratulations, confetti and balloons and all the things. um, but this person was doing something so different, but they wanted to change and do this other thing that they felt really called to do. They just didn't see how. They said, "Oh, I'm off the golden path and I'm a little too old." So that was what their hesitation was. And then through questioning, we poked the holes in that and started to put together the SMART goals and the plan. Um, And that made them feel like, oh, I can really be, I don't just go along with whatever life's given me. I can harness some change, point it in the direction I want it to go, and go.
Could you tell, please, a quick summary about your book, what you described there?
Yeah, it's going to take you from hesitation to I can do this. It's going to also give you an understanding of why we resist change in the first place.
Mhm.
Why does our brain not like change? Why? That was so much fun research to do. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm a neuroscientist nerd. So doing the research on why does the human brain not like change to begin with on the molecular level was super interesting. So it's going to take you from your hesitation to I can do this and I'm not going to have to do it alone.
I see. And what I'd like to talk about today about practical tools that you can give people right away, because based on my podcast, it's lived leadership. And
Yeah.
I like people to understand what they can just grab right away and
Mhm.
apply into their personal life or their professional career. And I'm sure from your book, you can give them a clear guide that basically your book is a guide. And
Yes.
I'd like to give our listeners some examples from your book that people can grab like right away and use it and apply it.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Two things that I think people should grab right away from the book. And they come from part two, which is the practical application, like we were talking about. I want it to be very practical. How do you practically apply things? The first thing is I want you to think of your core values as your glasses. Your core values are the lens through which you see every opportunity that comes your way. And you're assessing as you're looking through them, does this align with who I am? So, for example, a person that I write about in the book, they were transitioning out of the military, and everything about what they were being told by their family, by their friends, by their spouse was we should plant roots here. That should be how our change goes. We transition out of the military and we live here. But this person's one of their core values was worldliness. They really valued travel. They really valued experiencing other cultures. They really valued be a citizen of the planet. And this spot they felt was limiting as they looked through their values glasses. So what we got to was no, your change doesn't have to look like this one place on a map. What do you think about an RV? What do you think about being, it doesn't have to be forever. And it wasn't. They did it for 3 years. And now they do have a place by family and friends. But for 3 years, they embraced that value. And had they not been looking at this big life change that was presented to them through their core values glasses, they wouldn't have known. So, step one for listeners, get clear on what your core values are so you know what you're wearing, you know what glasses you're looking through. That's step number one. Then, number two, I want people to take away is you've probably heard, well, Alex, you've heard of the SMART goal
Yeah.
acronym: specific, measurable, time bound, realistic, and I'm forgetting the A action achievable. There it is. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. And I put an exclamation point on the end because I feel we should all celebrate. But people look at that as a framework for big goals, like my big life goal, my next career, what I want out of my college experience, what is my goal at nutritional goals. They look at them as these big ones. What I suggest in the book is to practice using the SMART goal framework on small, even just daily things. My dad had a stroke 2.5 years ago. Gosh, it's almost 3 years. I can't believe it. But he had a stroke and it's affected his left side. His cognition is still there. He's totally mentally fine, but it affected his left side. He and I work the SMART goal system for him every day. Wake up, set a specific goal. What are you going to accomplish today? And it doesn't even have to be to further his recovery. I just mean, are you going to go to the grocery store? How do you measure success? Yes, I took myself downstairs, got in my car, went to the grocery store, bought whatever. Is it achievable? That's where people can get tripped up. For him, it's like, is the weather sucky? Can I actually do this thing? So that's what I mean by in the small everyday things. We should all be striving for something, or we all know that something's going to meet us every day that's a change. And once you work that every day, it becomes a habit. So in the big, giant, scary things, cancer, loss of a home due to some crazy environmental situation, when those big, scary changes come our way, we're prepared because we've worked that muscle out every day. So my two things: put on your values glasses and work the acronym.
Yeah, I see. But also I have a question. For example, if let's talk about myself, because
Let's do it.
you can use me as example.
Bring it on, Alex. What you got?
Okay, so I focus on my values. I know what my values are,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to live my values every single day
Mm-hmm.
in practice,
Mm-hmm.
what I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
But very often people become overwhelmed and frustrated because of different environment they met and different people and different subcons. Just even when people trying to open new business or they transition from the military world to civilian world, they just meet different challenges. And then, for example, I know what my values are.
Mm-hmm.
I know what my values were when I was a military guy. I know what my values are right now. I have same values.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm people-focused person. I
Mm-hmm.
add value to people.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter, or it was in the military world or in the civilian world. But the challenge is when I meet people and people just holds them back. They're not open. And I think it happens everywhere. It happens in sales. It happens in marketing. It happens in every single demand of human life. When we meet people, they hold them back. They just learn about the person. What would you recommend to grab right away when we live our values, but we cannot just really go through with those values?
I see. So you're in a space where you want to make sure that you are still living your values, but you don't know how they fit that space. Is that the question?
Yes, and how I can add value to people, how people will accept it.
Yeah. Well, I've experienced this a little bit when I've coached others through making a career change to a different company. And I tell them to do their research, find out what the values are of that space, but the real values are of that space. Can you meet with someone? Because every company is going to have them on their website. Our values are such and such, such and such, such and such. But what is really going on? Can you network yourself to where you meet someone firsthand to hear how it is so you're more prepared? That's come up often, and that works really well to try to network and do your research. But when you're in that moment and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know how I fit here, I find that asking a lot of where do you see there's room for growth and what do you need is a way you can cut the chase and get right into how can I add value to your space. That's one that is pretty quickly applicable of what do you need, where do you see room for growth, and what do you need. It cuts out the testing the waters out. But the research is really helpful. A lot of people don't really think to do that research to see how well am I aligned. And those are the people you find out that are leaving roles, leaving towns, leaving relationships pretty quickly afterwards when they get there and they realize like, oh, I don't fit. This doesn't align with me at all.
Yes.
Yeah, do the research.
Okay, I see. You just mentioned about corporate world, about the companies have different values, and you can see those values on their websites.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, you know that Boeing has some challenges right now,
No. Yes. Yes.
and I'd like to ask you, and I'm sure you can help those people who work for big corporations.
Yeah.
Every single corporation has big value,
Mm-hmm.
good value. They have good people, smart people,
Mm-hmm.
really just high professional people.
Yeah.
But it happens that those people don't live those organizational values.
Yeah.
And those people always ask, why? And how can we live those values?
Yeah.
The problem is that there is a disconnection between top and bottom.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend for those people who feel that they burn out because different policies, different, uh, let's say, company regulations, and basically companies, they are not focusing on people, they're focusing on processes, and they're focusing on new technology, they're focusing now on AI, new
Mm-hmm.
AI, different AI. They create their own AI,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Mm-hmm.
are not focusing as much as they should on people. What would you recommend to those, not business owners, to those people, or maybe even for business owners,
Yeah.
what they can do, how they can grab that change?
Yeah. So what you're describing is a cultural level change or cultural
Absolutely.
level issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have that's a culture problem. So where you've got your list of values and then you've got what actually happens. Right? Um, if you're someone thinking about joining that organization, like I just was mentioning, network, find out what the real is. Make sure that there isn't that dichotomous culture versus value situation. How do you become a cultural change agent? That is a those are roles these days. Is cultural change leader. That's a real person. You can really get paid money for that. And what they do is they're going to go into a space. They're going to observe what's on paper and what's actually going to happen. And now it's closing that gap. How do we make what's on paper fit what's actually happened? And you have to start, there's two approaches that I've seen. You either start from a bookends, you start from the top and the bottom, and you work your way to the middle, or you start from the middle and you work your way out of growing the influence of making the influence felt by the people that you've worked with. I've seen this work really well, starting from the top and the bottom, where you grow the base support for the new culture that you're wanting to bring up from the bottom up. And you get those people asking for, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. I think it's going to happen a lot with our Gen Z and Gen Alphas, our younger Gen Z and our younger Gen Alphas coming up, and they're like, I want, I want, I want. They're not afraid to use their voice. They're not afraid to ask for things. So, and then getting the upper level leadership to recognize the disconnect and start to push it down. This is what I need you to be doing. This is what I need you to be telling people. This is how I need you to be acting. So then that gets that middle on board. Or the middle can push it out. I've seen that work a couple of times where they're like, this is what I need from going up and going down, so that they're constantly just asking for what they need.
Yeah.
It makes the messaging streamlined. But that's how you close that gap, is once you've recognized it, you set the what needs to change, what has to take place, and then communication is your main tool for resetting
Yeah.
the culture.
Yeah. Sarah, let's assume that I'm employee of Boeing.
Okay.
And I'm just asking you,
Hmm.
Sarah, I love our company. I have good salary.
Yeah.
I love our people. I love our team.
Yeah.
Those managers, they just push us. They just put too much on us.
Yeah.
And we know that we have good values, good people, smart managers.
Hmm.
But it looks like they just manage all of those processes. They just don't care about us.
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
can I bring my message to them as an employee? Because I know that we had great culture on the paper, and it used to be really great
Hmm.
culture.
Hmm.
Those values used to be lived values, but now some of them we leave, some of them we just, or just, I just don't want to say about that.
Yeah.
But we want to leave those values and make this company great again.
How are you showing them what you need? Would be my starting question. How are you showing your managers what you need and what is going to make the company great? Are you are you treating the people that are your direct reports the way that you ultimately want it? And then are you treating your manager the way you ultimately want them to be treating you in return?
I'm
So,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to listen really well my managers because
Mhm.
I want to make all our processes more effective and people more productive. But
Mhm.
it looks like they don't hear me.
Mhm. Mhm.
What
Mhm.
should I do in this situation?
Stick
Should
with
they?
it. Stick with it. I think that's people will quit, when they feel like they're not being heard, they feel like they're not.
Yeah,
But say you're my manager and I feel like you're not hearing me. I want you to treat me more like from a, I don't know, family felt approach. So I'm going to first show you what I want with my direct reports. Do check-ins with them that are very personal. Hey, how's it going? How's your mom? Really get to know their situation and ask those good questions. And then ask the same of my manager. Hey, Alex, how's your family? How was your weekend? And really mean it, like
yeah.
really mean it. And then make those suggestions. Hey, this policy, this is what I've noticed. Could we retweak the words? Could we do this? Could we change this? And not don't back up when you get the pushback because you're going to get pushback. Nope,
Yeah,
nobody willingly wants to
absolutely.
change. That's what part one of this book's about.
Yeah,
No.
but this is exactly what you talk about.
Yeah.
But my mentor, he said, "Listen, Alex, I don't have time. I don't. I understand what you say.
Yeah.
All of us, we're humans. I don't really have time. I have so many phone calls. I have so many emails I had to answer. I had to go through, even though I don't have time to go through all of those emails.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to go to people and work with them.
Okay.
So
Follow up. Will you empower me to do that? Can I do that instead of you? You don't have time. I do. Can I take that on? Can you delegate it to me?
it's a
That's
good point.
another misconception with I think leadership is that people feel like delegation has to come from the top down. You can ask to be get delegated something to you.
Yes.
If it's a project that you really see there's value in and you want to work, can I take that? Will you give me that authority?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know what? Often what happens that when top managers they empower like mid
Mm-hmm.
managers,
Mm-hmm.
and at certain point they feel insecure because they stuck to that position because CEOs and presidents they don't promote those managers
Mm-hmm.
higher, they
Mm-hmm.
just keep them there,
Mm-hmm.
and they have feelings of insecurity that
Mm-hmm.
that guy who is in the middle of the street, I mean, of the chain, the mid
Yeah.
manager, if
Mm-hmm.
he will empower that middle manager, so that middle manager he will bring all attention of all employees to him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then some top managers they have a big ego that
Mm,
people focusing on that guy because he was empowered and they listen to him. They don't
mhm,
listen to the top.
mhm,
This is another challenge. And also what I've seen in one big corporation, it's an international corporation, that they wanted to promote uh, one manager, not mid manager, but one guy on the top to the
mhm,
higher position,
mhm,
but they didn't have anybody who will replace him. So they were looking for somebody from outside of the company. This is
mhm,
again another mistake.
mhm, mhm,
It's like
mhm.
Ford. They prepared everyone inside.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
almost like Ed Bastian. He said that we hire people for like CEO of Delta Airline.
Mhm,
We hire people uh, for their uh, passion, and we train them for skills.
mhm,
And this is basically what should happen in different organizations. Doesn't matter the size, big or small or huge corporation. I think they should focus on how to bring out the best in others. And this situation, also, I just wanted to ask, how should that top manager react if he see that all people come to the mid manager and that mid manager he attracts all attention of all employees?
mm,
And the manager of the top, he become overwhelmed and frustrated because of all those phone calls, emails, strategy, new technology, and so on. This is
mhm.
another challenge.
It is a challenge, and it's going to be a case by case basis. My metaphor when we started talking about change and harnessing the horse, like I said, you still got a wild animal essentially. It could run in a whole other different direction than you planned. You can do everything right to steer it in the right direction. What you're describing is is a mid-level manager whose influence outweighs the upper level manager because they are more connected to what the people are wanting. So, in this situation, the recommendation would how do we get them back on the same team? How do I get that horse back into control? How do I get that takes partnership. That takes having that in it. So back to our initial conversation where I asked you if I can have that project. Give me that project. We'll be partners on it. That would be this is how to massage that. Okay, we'll be partners on it. I will be sure that everyone knows you gave this to me, that you let me run with it. Um, that way you keep that gap a little closer. It's when the diversion comes of that person with greater influence is like, yeah, I don't know what that guy is doing. That's where the problem comes. That's where the divide comes, where now you've got friction because person with the influence and has the ears of all the direct reports is seeing that they're like, I don't know what that guy's doing. They're doing something a little on their own. It behooves both parties to be partners. So, what is everyone's expectations for credit, if that's what's important to the senior level manager? What is everybody's expectations?
Yes.
Who at the end of the day walks forward with this? And partnership is the best,
Yeah.
always the best there.
Yes. Basically, what I see, Sarah, that all challenge comes from the top, from the top. I believe that all C-suite managers or C-suite guys,
Mhm.
they have to listen to this podcast. They should to grab the book, your book, and put in every leader's hands in their organization
Yeah. Yeah.
and listen to not just to us, but also to listen to other people, what other people should want to say from their corporation, from their organization. We just
Mhm.
guide them how to make their organization more effective, more productive. And again, please show your book so
Yeah.
people need to see it. And these book guys should be in every hands of your leaders in your organization because Sarah, she just wrote so nice stuff over there. Unfortunately, we cannot cover all of that book just for 30 minutes, but I'm sure that uh, Sarah's book will help you a lot because you will be able to have a field guide or field manual to use it and to guide your people through their challenges, through your personal challenges, because each of you, each of us, we have our challenges. And when we grab some stuff, some practical stuff, because Sarah, she's a practical person. She's former U.S. Navy pilot, and she knows what she's talking about. And now I'm telling you guys, that's for sure. Just grab that book, put in each leader's hand, and you'll see what will happen. And also you can contact Sarah because Sarah, she really strong coach. She can listen to you. She listen with all her senses and will ask you right questions. So through her questions, she will guide you through your transformational journey as a leader in your organization or your department.
Mm. Thank you for the high praise, Alex. You need to be my hype man for everything. But yeah, absolutely. It's the book is meant to meet everyone where they are with whatever change they're going through, especially as leaders, to give you some really practical tools that you can fit, not just in the situation we talked about today, but in whatever your situation is, for sure.
Yeah, I just tried to play a little bit in different roles and
Mm-hmm.
see because we've seen different situations in different organizations, and we try to model the situation to show you guys how to act in different situations with different people and how to use Sarah's guide as your help to navigate through your challenges in your personal life and professional career.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sarah, for being with us today.
Thank you, Alex, for the opportunity. This is always fun.
Absolutely. So, leadership listeners, please subscribe on my channel, Lived Leadership. You can see here real life examples when we can discuss about and you can apply it right away. As Sarah mentioned that you just have to grab that change. Just you have to horn that change, not just embrace it as a baby.